What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Gakis, and today I was originally planning on making a different video, but all anyone in the Destiny 2 space on Twitter or X is talking about is this right here. Destiny 2's total player count has now fallen below the Curse of Osiris lows, the point where Bungie once said it was weeks away from shutting the game down entirely. Now, what the heck is going on? Well, we're going to take a deeper dive of the exact numbers. Are things really this bad? Is Destiny 2 a few weeks away from shutting down? Or is that an exaggeration? Well, let's get started. So, this is not really a rant video. We got no face cam, partially because maybe it was my brother's birthday yesterday. Maybe I was challenged for drink, maybe I won. Maybe I'm not feeling so good now, but it is what it is, okay? But anyways, this Destiny Bulletin tweet went pretty viral, but it was referencing a different tweet that went equally as viral. It's from Clarity, Destiny 2 perk insights, doing the Lord's work, getting exact numerical value for perk effects and so on. So, they say, since the general discussions in the community seem to involve Steam player counts on a daily basis nowadays, I wanted to highlight / shill a friend's project that has platform agnostic daily active player data. And it's a link to popularity.report by Rich Destiny App. So, this is an extremely interesting website, and let's take a look at it right now. So here it is, and what this website is doing is, from what I saw, using the Destiny 2 API to give a much more realistic value of active players and numerical values of, you can see here, total players, hours played, all that stuff that is agnostic of the system. So again, Steam active daily player count is something that, a lot of people utilize, but that's just people playing on Steam. You also have a ton of people playing on PlayStation, playing on Xbox, playing on different platforms like, Epic Games Store or whatever. So this, using the API, should give us an overall good estimate. Now, nothing is going to be perfect, guys, but it gives a good estimate of exactly how many people are logging in each day from all different sources combined. So first of all, I want to point out, wow, this is a massive franchise. 71 million players total. 71 million players. 10.48 billion hours spent in this game. Dude, what is that, over a trillion, 700 billion kills? This is insane. And I just wanted to stop here for a second because, again, this is a massive franchise. I think we kind of don't give Destiny 2 enough credit as a franchise. It's a heavy hitter. It is one of the most recognized brands, franchises in gaming. 71 million players is crazy high. Now, there's games with higher, sure, but Destiny 2 is not a niche game that I think a lot of us kind of think of as our own little niche game in our own little corner. No, a lot of people play Destiny 2 at least at some point. So keeping that in mind, here is the data, and you can see the player count here is much higher than what we are seeing from Steam, from the Steam charts, right? And again, this is not concurrent players, this is just how many people logged into the game at one point during the day. So we can see the top, the most ever Red War Destiny 2 launch, 3,700,000, almost 4 million players. Then we talk about this Curse of Osiris low. So the Curse of Osiris comes out and it dips down dramatically. So we have some extremely low points here. 362,000 players. I think there's an even lower number somewhere in there. There's a 355,000 players. This is the worst Destiny got to for a long time. And you can see after that, Warmind came up and the player number dipped, but it never dipped that low. Warmind did a really good job of keeping players incentivized to keep playing the game, like grinding, escalation protocol for the shotgun and all that stuff. That was fantastic. You can see like the bump here of 1,300,000 players is nowhere near the bump for Curse of Osiris, right? It didn't go anywhere near the 2 million something players that logged on for Curse, but it kept those players around a lot better. And then Forsaken just turned everything around. I mean, 3 million players logging in for Forsaken is crazy. But you can see, although it dipped down, it never got close to those Curse of Osiris lows. And you can see we then get into Shadowkeep. 2,600,000 people logging in for the start of Shadowkeep, right? And that player count never dipped that low. Shadowkeep was a pretty, healthy player count. Beyond Light, nowhere near the same amount of people logged on initially, but again, we see a pretty healthy player count, a pretty consistent player count going through Beyond Light and then going through the Witch Queen. About the same people, a little bit less came in for the Witch Queen versus Beyond Light, but they stuck around for the Witch Queen. We have a huge spike right here, actually surpassing the Witch Queen launch date, or almost, at least, which is surprising. But yeah, those people stuck around for the Witch Queen. Then we have Lightfall, a big bump in players, actually higher than Witch Queen, which we knew because Witch Queen, I think, did so well. People really enjoyed Witch Queen, and so they came back for Lightfall, and then we can see Lightfall kind of dip pretty low here. And again, people were much more disappointed with the Lightfall and the seasons that followed. This was some bad times, but still never going below those Curse of Osiris lows. We can see, like, we saw 400,000 player count there, but nowhere near those like 350,000 lows. Then it's the final shape. This, did pretty well, 1,700,000, and again, it's remarkably consistent. Since Beyond Light, about the same amount of people are coming back, right? And then it dips down pretty low for the seasons. And I believe in the second season, we had our first, like, this got below Curse of Osiris, or at least partially, 368, 354. It's extremely close, right? Versus those absolute low historic lows, 355 for Curse of Osiris. But here we are with the Edge of Fate. And we can see that we have just gone down, down, down. And now we are in the, I'm sorry that the screen cuts it off, but we have, 292,000. Like, we have definitively significantly below the Curse of Osiris low. But here's something I want to point out. The Edge of Fate launch, we never got over 1 million. The highest player count is 811,000. This is shocking in two ways. The first way that this is shocking, and the way I want to be hopeful here, is that you're telling me that Destiny 2 is at its worst state ever, that everyone hates the game, that this game is dying, this game is dead, and there's still 263 or 200, almost 300,000 people logging on every single day. And to me, again, like, this is hopium copium times a million. I'm gonna be called a shill for this, but like, is this not evidence that this franchise could and should be saved? Like, the game has never been worse, according to so many people, and there's still 300,000 people logging on every single day. To me, again, like, that's pretty crazy. And it should be more, and it could be more, right? Just like a year after the game launched, we were at the lowest point ever, and then Bungie got it back and kept it above that low point for 10 years? To me, that's incredibly impressive. Like, you'd think that it would just be a steady decline, but it's not a steady decline, right? That's what you see from this graph. It's remarkably consistent up until the Edge of Fate, right? And so it's like, maybe this is the death blow, but my God, like, it is pretty crazy that we're comparing this low with a point from like 11 years ago. Like, that's the last, or not quite 11 years ago, sorry. I'm talking about 12 years, the entire franchise history. That's from Destiny 1. From 2018 to 2025, that is what, like, that's 8 years. Like, 8 years ago is where the last big low point we're comparing it to. That, to me, is, again, pretty remarkable. But I think this 800,000 number is also extremely important because, man, the amount of, like, Edge of Fate got a spike in players that is roughly equivalent to what the seasons, the episodes we're getting in the Edge of Fate. Look at this. 700,000 players, and then the one before, like 776,000 players. That is barely less than what the Edge of Fate got. So a lot of people, and again, just by this number, you can tell something very important. So many people say that the portal is the reason the game is dead, the leveling system is the reason the game is dead, and all of that, I definitely think those are contributing factors. I think the portal is terrible. I think the leveling system is terrible. But no one bought the Edge of... This is the thing. No one logged on initially to the Edge of Fate. People didn't even get to play the portal. They didn't even play the leveling system. These first couple of days, that's just when people are going through the campaign. And we got this low of a player count. So this, to me, is just a massive failure of the Edge of Fate to interest players in the first place, right? I mean, and looking back on that, I think that is what we should really be paying more attention to. They had a character from the original Destiny 2 launch, Trials of the Nine, that's suddenly there, barefoot, floating around. Why would that interest people? Versus other things, it's Savathun is discovered the secrets of the light. There's Hive, Guardians now. Lightfall was a bit of a disaster, but even that was more interesting. The final shape was crazy. Dude, the Edge of Fate never got started, and that is so important. People didn't even play the Edge of Fate to hate the portal. We're looking for things that are... Dude, no one even bought the Edge of Fate. That is the big thing. That is Bungie failed to attract people back in the Edge of Fate. And that is irregardless of all of these other things that happened. The portal, the leveling system, all that stuff, the tiering system. That stuff has definitely hurt and made the game fall flatter. But again, it's dude, Edge of Fate never even got started. That is a really important thing to take away from these numbers. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is going to be what that quote, right, is the quote that everyone is talking about. That is, we were gonna shut down the game. Is that really going to happen? Well, here's where it comes from. Specifically, this was from a speech by Justin Truman during his talk at GDC 2023, which is the Game Developers Conference. So, funny enough, Justin Truman actually recently became Bungie CEO, right? So this is the same guy. And this is actually the image of where he's talking about this, where this quote comes from. And he says, the direct quote is him saying, "This moment right here in February of 2018 was effing terrifying." So this graph shows the trend of our weekly active users. And at the rate that we were shedding players, if this continued for just 5 more weeks, we would run out of players. The entire population would be gone, and we were seriously looking at potentially being 1 month away from having to just close up shop for Destiny 2 altogether. That, really bad, really bad, guys. Definitely not good. And so, again, I am not trying to sugarcoat this and say that the player population is actually not that bad. No, it's bad. It is bad. Again, it's still 300,000 people a day. I think that's remarkable for a franchise as old as Destiny. I think it still shows that there is still interest in this game even when it's at its worst point. But there's no doubt about it, this is bad. But if you look at the actual quote he's saying, guys, he's saying if we continued at this same downwards trajectory, well, on the one hand, that's not going to happen because shedding players is never uniform. There's people watching this video right now that are saying, I still like Destiny and I'm never quitting. So you would never have a uniform, we would lose players at this exact amount, every single time, every single week, and then we get to 0 players. That just doesn't happen with player counts, right? You guys see what I'm saying? It's just mathematically, if you lost people at that rate, yes, you would get to 0, but at some point it will start to bottom out because certain players are just not going to quit the game because they still enjoy it or it's their comfort game or whatever. So you would see player count naturally bottom out. So he's just talking about, and I think he's being very kind of hyperbolic and you know, he's giving this big speech about how they turned around the game. So obviously he's talking about like just how bad the low point was. And he's saying, yeah, like mathematically we'd get down to 0 players. And obviously if we had 0 players, we'd have to shut down the game. I think that's different than saying like we could not sustain, like we were in the negative, we were not profitable, and we were like 5 weeks away from not being able to afford to keep the servers up. Like that is very, and I think that's what a lot of people are kind of making it seem like he's saying. That's not what he's saying. He's saying like we would get to 0 players, and then obviously if you have 0 players, that you shut the game down, right? But again, that's just not going to happen because literally there's going to be people in this comment section of this video saying, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So you'd get to 12 people. I mean, like, still, that's not bad, but I'm saying like you have people that are committed to the franchise. You have people that have just started that are not actually going anywhere. And that's actually another very interesting thing. So in the replies to this big post, Clarity actually has another thing which shows the new players entering the game, and then says, before we get into that, he says, someone please tell me how long it takes for these tweets to show up on a crash out video on YouTube. One day, Clarity, dude, one day. Here it is. Here's my crash out video. I mean, hopefully Clarity, you've enjoyed the insight of this video. I'm trying not to have a crash out and try to just have a discussion of the numbers, but looking at this other graph here of new players, this is equally interesting, guys. So let's take a look at it right here. You can see that we have new players in thousands, right? Like dark blue is basically nobody, and then it gets up to red, which is 100,000 or over 100,000 players in a day. You can see that with the Red War, we were absolutely getting a ton of new players, right? Like every single day, red as red can be, right? Then we have I think this might have been like Curse of Osiris, and then we have right before Warmind and stuff like that. Oh, sorry, never mind. Here's Curse of Osiris. This is a little bit of red dump, and then we have like less and less players. Here's an important thing, guys, is that like the blue, the dark blue, so this is Season of Opulence, dark blue players, you're still getting 3,000, 4,000, 5, almost 6,000 new players a day. So this never shows like a negative. That's not what it's tracking. It's tracking brand new player logins to the API. So right here, things are not looking great. Things are in the blue. But again, the most recent player data they have, I think that's today, I guess. So Destiny 2 is apparently at its worst point ever, and 4,600 brand new people still played the game for the first time yesterday. And this is daily, right? So these, like, those accounts will not show up again in this graph. Like, they've just started, all 4,000. The day before, almost 6,000, 4,000, 4,000. So we're still getting 4,000 brand new people, 5,000, now 10,000 new accounts, like every single day in this low point. And again, I don't want to try to downplay the severity of this issue. I mean, honestly, Season of the Drifter was just as bad. And Season of Opulence, which is Season of Opulence was looked back on as like one of the golden ages of Destiny 2. And like, it's frankly, like, we're kind of back to that point in terms of new players. You have random interesting spikes here, like, dudes, why is it 100,000 new players for multiple days in Season of the Wish? Well, I think it was, from what I read, it was free on, I think it was Epic Game Store. The Legacy Collection was just free. You could pick up Destiny 2, and it's like, oh, that actually works. Like, when Destiny 2 goes on these, like, massive sales, or becomes free or something, like, you actually have spikes like this. Like, that's a pretty significant spike. Now, how many of these players actually stick around? You know, that's a good question. Like, I really don't know. I'm shocked that there's still 5,000, sometimes 7,000 new players, 10,000 new players some days logging in every single day, brand new players, when community sentiment is this bad. Like, dude, I can't even believe it. Like, you're telling me 4,000 brand new people said, I'm going to play Destiny 2, and like everywhere you go, it's negativity about Destiny 2. To me, that is still pretty shocking. And again, it's like it is not like these numbers are 0. It is not like these numbers are 10, 12 new players. No, there's still thousands of players who start playing Destiny 2 every single day, guys. Every single day. And you, again, the lowest of the low player count that we saw earlier is still in the 200, 300,000s. Like, and again, I don't want to, like, I'm not saying that this means things are not that bad. Things are certainly bad, especially in the comparison of other times in the game's history. But like, my goodness, again, this game is worth saving, man. I see these numbers and I'm shocked. They're much higher than I thought they would be. Like, if you are just reading the doom and gloom on Twitter, you honestly think that there's like literally nobody playing this game, that there's like 10,000 of us left. There's obviously not, right? And there's still new players starting their journey with Destiny every single day, right? And to me, I just think that if I was Sony seeing these numbers, I would say like, wow, this is actually a franchise worth investing and worth saving. Because like, again, we're comparing these low points with Curse of Osiris. That Bungie, so like, it's interesting. I had someone in my Discord say like, this proves that things are not savable. You can't save Destiny 2. It's like, dude, we're literally talking about comparing this to the previous low point in Curse of Osiris, where they did save the game. The last time things were this low in terms of the player count, they released Forsaken and they literally saved the game. The question is, like, can they do that again? Who knows, right? But like, they've not only done it once, they've done it multiple times, guys. Like, that is the crazy part. And yeah, like, things are definitely low. Things are definitely not good. We are at a lowest point. And this is the only video you're going to see me make on this, because at this point, we're probably just going to enter into some more lowest points. But to me, I think, again, the takeaway is that there's still a shocking amount of dedicated Destiny 2 players that are logging in every single day that don't want this franchise to die. And I'm one of them, right? I'm one of them for sure. And I really hope that Bungie looks at that and Sony looks at that, and we finally just get the resources we need. You got to remember, Bungie is operating at half capacity. Half the dang studio, right, is making Marathon right now. Imagine if, like, if that wasn't the case. Imagine, or even just imagine they get that stupid game out, and so at least it's out, and then you don't need all these developers that were working on animations, that are working on, you know, character models and all that stuff. The games already are out. You don't need people designing weapons from the ground up anymore because the game's already out. You can shift a lot of those people back on Destiny, and we can maybe get some well-deserved good content. You almost want to say, if Bungie cared as much about this franchise as we do, we'd have non-stop Forsakens. We just have banger after banger after banger. And unfortunately, it's just like, you have Bungie going through all this turmoil. They broke up with Activision. They got reacquired by Sony now. They're going through another transformation. Half the studio's making Marathon. It's just like, my gosh, can we just have this studio properly dedicated to just Destiny once again at one point? But hey, and maybe Sony will come to that conclusion as well. Because if we've all come to that conclusion, someone at Sony has got to also come to that conclusion, you'd hope. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Just wanted to look at these numbers, talk about it for a bit. What do you guys think? Like, is it over? Or is this maybe like, hey, wow, numbers are higher than I thought? Because they certainly are for me. Guys, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCactus, that is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.